Yeah, so my name is Casey Johnstone. I'm the Student Development Coordinator in New Student Programs here at Duke. And so I'm super excited to have so many of you joining us for the Peer Connections webinar. We have a great panelist group from across campus. And in a second, I'll let them introduce themselves. Wanted to allow space for my two counterparts in New Student Programs to introduce themselves as well, and then students, if you want to do your spiel.
Great. So hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Ponteformo, and I'm the Assistant Director of New Student Programs. And it's really nice to see so many faces here, names, Zoom backgrounds, you name it. Thank you all for coming, and we're excited to start building some connections with you all. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole and Casey. My name is Jordan Hale. I work here in the Office of New Student Programs, and I'm really excited to see you all as well. We got a great slew of students who are going to give you all you need to know to get started in your experience here at Duke. So we're going to let them take it over and make history today.
All right, and for our panelists, it's probably easiest if I call on you, otherwise there's a lot. So we'll start with Shrey.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Shrey. I'm a rising junior from Austin, Texas. And I'm here today representing the Blue Devil Buddies program, which is a Duke student government initiative.
Awesome. Eduardo.
Hey, everyone. My name is Eduardo. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I'm a rising senior at Duke. And I'm here representing FAC Board, which kind of coordinates a lot of week activities and the FAC program.
Eleanor.
Hey everyone, I'm Eleanor. I am a rising junior from Michigan. Like Eduardo, I'm also on FAC Board, so I also work on like OWEEK programming and all that thing associated with that. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Catherine.
Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, a rising junior. I'm based in Charlotte and studying history, and I'm here today with the peer advising program, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Awesome. Ramya.
Hey y'all, my name is Ramya. I use the pronouns she, her, hers. I'm a rising junior from West Bloomfield, Michigan. Shout out Eleanor. And I'm one of the program leads for the Blue Devil Buddies program.
Philip.
Hey guys, I'm Philip. I am from Fairfax, Virginia. I'm here representing the E-team, which is the peer advising group specifically for the engineering school. I'm studying biomedical engineering, and my pronouns are he, him, his.
Awesome. Next up is Christina.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina. I'm a rising junior. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I study public policy and psych, and I'm from Arizona, and I'm also here on the Blue Devil Buddies team.
Awesome. And Natalie.
Hey guys, I'm Natalie. I'm from Indiana, so one of the few Midwesterners out there. I am a she, her, hers for pronouns, and I also represent Pratt E-team along with Philip.
Awesome. Did I miss any of the panelists? No. Okay. So before we get started, just a quick rundown, because this chat looks different from our previous webinar. So as you can see, we can see you. We really wanted this to be an informal chat, an opportunity for you all to get to know each other, and the best way to do that is face-to-face if you choose to do so. So if you'd like your camera on, you are more than welcome to have it on. I will ask if you could remain muted unless you're asking a question. And to do that, it's real awkward because there's supposed to be a chat and it's not here. So you can't type in your questions. So instead, Zoom has a feature where you can like raise your hand. So at the bottom bar there, if you click on participants, you should be able to, like on the right side of the screen, there's a a button that you can click that says raise a hand. So if you have a question that you want to ask, feel free to click that button, and I'll be scrolling through all of your lovely faces and calling on you to ask questions. Did I miss anything? Jordan, Nicole? Cool. All right. If anyone has a question.
I'll kick us off. Can each of the panelists maybe give a little bit of an explanation, a little bit more deeply into what their program is about, and maybe some of the roles that it serves and ways students can interact with these really student-led initiatives? And Casey, do you want to call on people? Or we could just pepper it.
Let's popcorn it.
Popcorn. Pop, pop.
Awesome. Well, go for it, Eduardo.
All right. So I'll talk a little about Fact Board. So Fact Board is basically an organization that coordinates a lot of orientation week programming. We also coordinate the FACT program, which stands for First Year Advisory Counselor. And these people are probably going to be reaching out to you guys in probably a month or so, I'm guessing, Casey and Nicole, right? And these are going to be like mentors to you throughout your first year at Duke. And basically, we all work as a team, both within board, but also with the facts, to make Duke a home for you and welcome you guys to campus. And we're excited to be able to do that. And we hope that we're actually able to do that well in the fall.
Yeah, just going off of that, because I'm also on Fact Board, a little bit more in depth about what the facts actually do. So in your assigned residence hall in the fall, you'll be matched with like 6 other people or so, and then you'll also have like a fact to sort of like guide you around. They'll take you on tours, sort of answer any questions that you might have, because OWIC is so filled with like a lot of programming based on like your pre-professional, like pre-med, pre-law. They have like events like that as well as activity fairs. So your FAC is there to sort of like guide you through that and have like little like check-ins like every other day or so. And they're like a person that you can turn to like throughout as well, if you like need help with like finals or, you know, at the end of the semester.
And kind of building off of FAC, I'm a member of E-Team, and E-Team is a lot like FAC, the FAC board, except we're much more Pratt focused. And so we provide a lot of engineers to kind of serve as peer advisors to all the freshmen. And similar to the FAC program, which pairs a couple of peers up with students, the Pratt E-Team also does this. We started a program last year where about 2 E-Teamers pair up with like 10, 15 students and get to interact with the students, meet them, and then serve as kind of peers for the freshman year.
Yep, and going off of that, just wanted to mention that in a few weeks, I think we'll be having another event specifically within E-Team, kind of where freshmen in the engineering school can kind of meet all the E-Teamers. And so if you miss an opportunity to ask a question here, I just wanted to let you guys know that there's more opportunities to kind of ask questions during the summer.
And I'm here with the peer advising program. So kind of like the E-Team counterpart, we are peers who offer academic advice, who can provide resources. We're a part of the Academic Advising Center, which is located on East Campus behind Marketplace, which is where y'all will be eating most of your meals this fall. But we're also part of your housing network. So every dorm has either 1 or 2 peer advisors, which are sort of your dorm point people. But the peer advising program has a broad range of representation across different disciplines. And so if you check out the peer advising part of the Academic Advising Center website, you can check out our profiles and see if you have any questions relating to our areas of interest.
Awesome. And I'm happy to round us out by talking a little bit about Blue Devil Buddies, and Christina, Ramya, who are amazing partners on this. Please feel free to hop in if I miss anything. Blue Devil Buddies it's a program created out of recognition that, y'all as the incoming class of 2024 are entering Duke and the Duke community at a very difficult time, right? We don't know what the fall is going to look like. The summer is crazy. The academic calendar has moved up, et cetera. And so the goal behind the Blue Devil Buddies program is that we have a bunch of, I'm talking hundreds of upper class folks, so rising sophomores through seniors, who all have had at least 1 or more years of Duke experience. We're going to be here to serve as a one-on-one mentor and kind of guide you into the Duke community. You should have received an email from 2 of our vice provosts, Mary Pat McMahon and Gary Bennett, yesterday, inviting you to fill out a Qualtrics form for the program. And based on whatever you fill out in this form, we will assign you with one-on-one upperclassmen mentor who will, hopefully help connect you with different resources on campus and just chat with you about, picking classes or Duke social life or where are the best food spots on campus and everything else that you want to know. So there'll be kind of a one-on-one mentor for you to hopefully have a smooth transition in during this unprecedented time. So that's kind of Blue Devil Buddies wrapped up in a bow.
Awesome. Thank you for that context. I saw a question from Joanna. If you are still in here, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, actually, I did have a question and I did raise my hand, but Trey actually answered it in his little Blue Devil spiel. So thank you.
Perfect. I saw the hand go away, but I wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to ask it if it wasn't addressed. I do have a question that someone submitted before the webinar started. Let's see. How do you get involved with student research, and is it a good idea to set an arrangement with a professor before arriving on campus?
I can kind of answer that question. I help run the research society on Duke's campus, which our organization kind of just provides different resources for students who are interested in doing research on campus, which is a vast majority of students coming in across all disciplines. It's not just in the biological sciences, it's in economics, public policy, all those things. And so I personally did contact the professor early on, I think right before the school year started. It doesn't have to be now, it can really be whenever you want, whenever you feel you're ready. I think the most important thing is just trying to find out what exactly you want to do with your research, what kind of labs you want to join. Once you figure that out, then I think it's a good time to kind of reach out to professors through email. So really whenever you want. I personally think earlier is a bit better, but whenever you feel is best.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just to add on to that, so cold emailing is certainly an option, finding a professor that you're interested in their research and areas of study. However, there is a program, or rather a platform, that is now in partnership with the Office of Undergraduate Education called User. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but basically it's a research matching platform where people who are looking for undergraduate researchers can go and see what projects are available. It's at specific times of the year, so there are several rounds, one for fall, which occurs right in the drop ad period, so that you can get involved in research for credit or even for a non-campus job. And then there's one for spring round, which is a longer timeline because it enables more time before the drop ad period for spring semester. But just a little bit more on that. It's across all disciplines. It used to be STEM focused, but now it has integrated projects in the humanities and the social sciences. And that's just another avenue for you guys to explore and find kind of not a entirely representative sample of every research opportunity happening on campus, but a good number of research that is transparent for you guys to look at the project descriptions and actively know that they are wanting undergrads.
Yeah, just kind of like wrap it up quickly. I just want to say that there isn't like a lot of pressure for you to get like a research opportunity as fast as possible. Like I'm pre-med and I didn't have research experience for like the majority of my freshman year. I got like involved towards like the spring semester and the later half of spring semester. And that's because a lot of summer opportunities and following fall opportunities open up in the spring. So like Muser, but also like Fast Connections, a lot of summer fellowships such as like BSERF, which is the Biological Sciences Undergrad Research Fellowship, Code Plus, Data Plus, Story Plus, all these things you can look up. But I just want to say that there's like really no pressure, even if you are in like a competitive like pre-professional route, that we're not going to like yell at you guys if you aren't immediately in a lab by September.
That's a really great point, Eleanor. The other quick thing I wanted to throw out there is just as you know, many of you know, our pre-orientation programs aren't occurring this year in kind of our traditional format in person. However, we are working to redevelop them to work and be modified to be useful experiences and valuable experiences in a virtual environment. And one of those programs is called Project Search, and really is an introduction to undergraduate research, and is a great place to just start learning more. And so we'll have more information that we'll share via email and on Facebook later in the summer once we have the details kind of ironed out. But know that that'll be an opportunity even over the summer to start engaging and just learning about what research is all about from the humanities to the hard sciences and natural sciences and such. So keep a lookout.
Thank you for that. I see Joanna has a question.
My question actually had to do with pre-orientation program. So thanks, Nicole, for that segue. We did get an email saying it was canceled, but then like the online options were in the making. So I was hoping we could like maybe get an update. And also, do we have to still do the application by June 15th, or is that like?
Yeah. Thank you, Joanna. So no, you don't have to do the application by June 15th. We didn't open it because it didn't quite fit our needs at this point. We are really working with all of the programs, our office, so Jordan, Casey, and I are working with all of the pre-orientation programs to redevelop. So like I said, for Project Search, the same goes for all of the other pre-orientation spaces. There may be some areas that are kind of drop in, like a chat like this on Zoom, that are open to everyone. And then there might be some opportunities to sign up and kind of commit to a little bit more of a structured experience and kind of an ongoing experience. And we're ironing out the dates and such for that. But we actually have a representative from one of those programs here. So I know it kind of, it shows how kind of multifaceted our students are. So Christina, I'm putting you on the spot, but Christina represents Project Build, which is one of our awesome programs, and they've already been working really hard. I don't know if you want to say a teeny bit more to just kind of pique some interest out there. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm the program director for Project Build. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's kind of a community service oriented program. Traditionally, it was one of the largest ones at Duke. And we focus on doing community service in Durham and also building community between incoming first years and upperclassmen students. So yeah, given that we're going virtual this year, the Build administrative team has been working on coming up with ideas for activities that we can do together virtually that are either service-based, like within your own community, or supporting organizations or past service sites that we would typically work with in Durham, but from a remote standpoint, I guess. But we also are going to be planning a lot of really fun bonding activities and probably ways that you can really get to know upperclassmen in the Build community. We have a really large staff, and they all do amazing, diverse things on campus, and we think that it'd be really great for people who are interested to get to know them and join some of the programming. And then there's also talk about like continuing that kind of programming in person when we are back on campus. And I would assume that that's probably the same for other pre-orientation programs.
Definitely. So more info to come. We're sorry we can't give more detail, but please know that there are literally over 100 student leaders who are really still eager to make this a meaningful experience for you all and still connect you to their communities, whether it's the arts, whether it's outdoor education, whether it's innovation and entrepreneurship, community service, or so many other things. So yeah.
Awesome. Next question is from Grace.
Yeah, I was just wondering if any of the orientation week will be online, and like if that would change move-in dates, like when we'd find out, like when we find out when we're moving in for like plane flights and stuff like that.
You want me to take that one, Nicole? I can take that one. Hey Grace, it's a great question. We're looking at a bunch of different options right now. We certainly think a part of our onboarding experience will have to be online. If you think about kind of any kind of college orientation, it's like the opposite of social distancing, right? It's like make friends, be with each other, connect with each other, and we still have some public health things that we have to manage. But so part of it will be online. We're really trying to work hard with the university to see what the move-in days are going to be for incoming first-year students and really for all students, because our current students don't even really know that information yet. So the hope is that we'll get some of those details hopefully by the end of next week. Number one, so parents and families can plan and students can plan. So we're pushing hard with our senior leadership to get some of those details out. But I would expect for parts of it to be virtual for sure. And then as we continue to work out what we're going to do for the start of the fall semester, hopefully we'll be able to do some things to welcome the class of 2024 and our incoming transfer students on campus as well. So I would say expect a mix. And the move-in date, if I knew Grace, it would be on my shirt, because we need to know too, so we can kind of get people settled here. But we're hopefully that we're going to get more information soon.
And the only other thing that I would add is, our team is looking at a lot of different options for orientation, but kind of like I said before, community really is at the core of everything that we do. So regardless if we are together in person or if we're sharing a virtual space, we are trying our hardest to make sure that it is a comparable experience. We don't want to just shove information at you. That's not helpful for anybody. I'm not sure I understand. My Siri is freaking out. Holy cow, that scared me.
Siri also doesn't want information thrown at her, Casey.
I almost had a heart attack. I don't even remember what I was saying. We're trying to make sure that it's a balance of the things you need to know to be successful here at Duke and have a great transition, while also giving you spaces to kind of let loose a little bit and meet each other organically, even if it is virtual. So yeah, I'll add that. Sorry about Siri. Next question, Michael.
Hello, I was just wondering if the date for when housing assignment is released, is that still going to be on June 16th, or is that not certain anymore?
It's a good question, Michael. I think that is also up in the air. I talked to the housing assignments team earlier today. They're hoping to get that information out in the next couple of weeks by that date. But I think just with so many moving parts, some of that information is still up in the air. So hopefully it'll be out there soon. If you all will know as soon as we know, for sure. But if you don't hear anything and nothing gets out in the next couple of weeks, feel free to message our office and we'll continue to kind of hound and push so that that information can get out. And we know that a lot of these, questions are going to relate to kind of moving and getting prepared. It's so funny because on the hierarchy of needs, all the things you want to do and be connected to on campus are great, but you want to know kind of how you're going to eat, where you're going to live, and so we certainly understand those things. So continue to ask those questions, and I'm taking notes on the questions that come up, and we're going to share that with senior leadership so we can say, hey, all of this is great that we're doing to get prepared, but from a needs perspective, here are the nuts and bolts that students need so that they can make the transition with their families to start and become a part of the Duke family. So.
Great, thank you. All right, we have another question from Joanna.
Hi again. I was just hoping to get some advice from how to choose and how many to choose, in regards to extracurriculars as an incoming freshman, because obviously Duke will have thousands more opportunities than our respective high schools.
Great question.
I can try to answer this question. First of all, thank you for asking it. I think one of the biggest mistakes first-year students make when they're entering Duke is getting involved with too much too fast, because when you come to college, you're like, oh my gosh, I only have maybe 8 hours of classes an entire week, and so I have all this much more free time. Why don't I fill it with other things? I would caution you to avoid doing that. You'll realize very quickly the transition to college as it is already very stressful and will take up most of your time. If I had to pick like a golden number, and like this depends on the person, I think 3 is always like a pretty good number. You can make one of those like, is there a certain like passion or interest that you have, right? One of them can be pre-professional. The other could just be like, what like do you just love to do in general? And it can be something silly too. We have lots of different clubs at Duke. And so I would pick 3. Even I made that mistake coming in. I think I signed up for like 8 things, and then I slowly started to like drop them off. And like, that's the other thing I would say. If you do what most freshmen are going to do and sign up for too many things, it's okay to drop them. It's okay to like slowly walk away from meetings after a little bit. But yeah, I would say 3.
In terms of your first question, which is how to go about figuring out which extracurriculars to do, I think a really good piece of advice is to kind of find upperclassmen that are already involved in whatever organizations you might be interested in, and kind of just reach out to them there through Facebook, through Instagram, however. I'm pretty sure, I'm certain that most students on Duke's campus are more than willing to kind of help you figure out if this is the right club for you. And in fact, they'll be willing to spend a lot of time. And so just kind of exploring in your first few weeks, kind of figuring out kind of who's in which organizations and kind of reaching out to them. I think that's a decent piece of advice.
Great. Our next question is from Kushagra.
Hi guys, my question was that will we have the option to do fall semester online versus in person, or will all the students be coming to campus in the fall?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It sounds like from what the president shared, and I don't want to misquote this, but I know he sent out an email, Kushagra, we can make sure that you received it if you didn't, that it sounds like anybody who wants to come to campus, where Duke's going to try to make the option for that to happen. Now, we're still going to have to put sort of socially distant practices into place to protect public health of not only you all, the students, but our staff. But from what I remember, it sounds like if people want to try to make it here to Durham, that option is going to be available. And I see some head nods from the other panelists, so it makes me feel like I did not misquote that information. So good question.
Next up is a question from Sachin.
Yeah, so my question is kind of similar to Joanna's, but I was just wondering what resources are available to kind of start looking into clubs during the summer beyond the kind of portal that just lists all the clubs.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a good question, but I would say there's not too much you can do besides the portal. And by portal, I presume you're referring to Duke Groups, which is just dukegroups.com, one word. It's a directory which is publicly accessible, but also you should be able to have access to your net ID, given that those are all activated by this point. That gives a pretty good like description of the clubs. It has the list of like their executive board. If you're specifically interested in probably 1 to 2 clubs, I don't think it would hurt for you to reach out to someone on their executive board. Once you log in using your net ID, then you can see the list of all the students. And so you can feel free to email them and just hop on a quick, 20, 30-minute call over the summer to get a better understanding. But honestly, like take the summer to relax. I know it's very difficult during this kind of crazy everything that's going on, but really like relax. I mean, senior summer is supposed to be fun and kind of enjoyable before you come in and start kind of school all over again as a first year in college. So don't worry too much about groups. Some way or another, I'm sure we'll have a version of an activities fair in the fall, perhaps not in person, but some way. And so, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but dukegroups.com is your best way to go.
Awesome. Next question is from Brian.
Yeah, so given the current situation, will the weekly discussion dinners for students in the focus program look any different?
Man, y'all are asking legendary questions. This is, we're gonna have to write this down. So I just had a meeting with Focus this morning. They are thinking really hard about what their dinners are gonna look like, Brian. So thank you for asking. The hope is that they will be able to still do the dinners if students choose to come to campus, but the reality is some students may choose not to come to campus. So Focus is looking into rooms where they can also simulcast the dinners. So if a student decides that they aren't able to make it then they can join virtually to those dinners. So they're trying really hard to think about how they do it. They've identified a couple of spaces. I mean, I really did just meet with them this morning. They've identified a couple of spaces across campus that have those capabilities to be served a meal and to also then simulcast whatever they're going to do. And so they're thinking through it really hard, and hopefully they'll have more information soon.
Awesome. Next question is from Jonathan.
Hey, thanks so much. I read in the email from President Price that some extracurricular activities would be online and some would still be able to be in person. Do you know if there's any updates on whether like club athletics is going to be able to continue? Like specifically, I'm thinking about doing cross country or club running.
Yeah, that's another really good question. And I hate to be a broken record, but you know, we don't know at this point what that will look like. I think that's the kind of thing we're just gonna have to wait on for now. But hopefully as we get a little further into the summer, some of those questions related to club sports, athletics, intramurals and such will be addressed. And hopefully there will be some sort of hybrid where some activities are allowed. But yeah, sorry, we don't have a better answer for now.
But Nicole is right. She's right. We don't really know a ton, but we do. We work a lot. Our team with the team in Campus Rec that does recreation and physical education, and so we'll reach out to that leadership and try to get you a message here. Still maybe in the webinar. So I'll actually text my buddy Nate right now and kind of see what the plan is for them and see if we can get you some info.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. All right, we have a question from Ria.
Hi, I was reading through the Blue Book and I saw that there was something called the What Now seminars. Could anybody explain more about what they are?
Have any students taken one? Just out of curiosity, no? Because that would be cool. But yeah, go for it, Jordan. Oh, Christina, you took one?
I think I did.
You think? Well, tell us about it.
Yeah, so if I'm correct, it was part of a program that's hosted under Keenan, which is the Institute for Ethics, and it's a series of seminars that, so the seminars are smaller classes and you usually have a topic and it's tied to ethics in some way. So mine in particular was, it was about like how to live kind of an ethical and happy life. And so it was focused a lot about like kind of practicing gratitude and examining self-reflection and thinking about just kind of working through a lot of things regarding like past philosophies on ethics and current practices and how they apply to Duke as well. And so the class was really interesting because I met with my seminar every week, but I would also meet with the greater What Now kind of community either every week or every other week. And basically what would happen is different classes that were all part of the What Now program would kind of come together and students from each class would have a discussion each week, usually in a common room on East Campus in a dorm or somewhere else. And sometimes they would bring snacks and you would have really cool discussions with peers from other classes and basically just talk about ethics and what you're learning in the class. So I personally loved my experience a lot. I got a lot out of it. I'm really close with the professor who taught it. And so I would really recommend it if anyone is interested in that kind of like thinking about ethics and self-reflection and that kind of stuff.
Thanks so much, Christina. That is definitely the program. And if you want more information, there's a bounty of it on the Keenan Institute for Ethics website, which is keenan.ethics.duke.edu. And it's under programs. If you'd like, we can even help connect to, I forget who it was who asked the question, but if anyone else, if it piqued your interest, just email us at studentorientation@duke.edu right now even, and I could get you some information on someone to contact and learn more about some fall offerings and how it works. But it's a relatively new program, but seems to be a really meaningful one and really could be a great intellectual and like just like reflective experience. So thank you.
Our next question is from Thomas.
Yeah, I received an email on the 28th talking about registration and like academic advising.
Thomas, you froze.
And it said all the dates were to be determined, but then on the Duke Hub it says that, did my internet cut out?
It did.
Okay. I will try this again. So I got an email on the 28th about registration and book bagging and academic advising, but none of the dates were determined yet. But then on the Duke Hub, it says that book bagging starts on the 10th, and then you have until the 14th for registration. So I was wondering what the dates were, roughly what kind of time window or timeline we would get for choosing classes, and how all that would look.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know that that's something that like the university as a whole is talking about right now. Actually, I think we just received an email within the last couple of days that they're looking at adjusting. I don't know if they have been announced yet or even decided yet, but we do have webinars scheduled for Pratt Advising and Registration, Trinity Advising and Registration, and also one for pre-health. And so I know our team is looking at, depending on when that announcement comes out and what the dates are, potentially postponing those webinars until it makes sense to line up. So long story short, like many other questions, we don't have a definitive answer, but I know that is something that they're talking about as the university is waiting to make decisions about the fall semester. They are also like choosing to make decisions about pushing back some of those deadlines until a decision is made. Jordan, Nicole, would you add anything else?
Yeah, I would just really quickly, Thomas. That June 10th date, I don't think book bagging is going to open then. So I think that's important to know. Like, I think the date's going to be backed up a little bit. And I think more information will come out from the university. I was actually on an email chain over the last couple of days about the fall calendar and the spring calendar. So I know that university staff are working on it now and hope to have something said soon. But June 10th, book bagging will not start from what I think. I think it's going to be later in the summer.
And the only other thing I would add, just in general, starting college is a really big deal. And there's a lot of things like on your checklist that you have to do before starting. And I think starting in a global pandemic is making what is already challenging even more challenging. And so I would reassure to the best of my ability, like, you are not falling behind. You are not missing something. A lot of these things just aren't decided yet because we're trying to make sure that when we make a decision, we're making the decision once and it's the right one for the fall. So if that helps at all, just know you're not missing anything and know that you're not falling behind. And if you have any anxiety around not knowing deadlines, or like all the deadlines are funky right now, let's be honest. So just know that you're not alone in that. It's something that the current students are feeling. It's stuff that the staff are feeling. So, you're not going to start at Duke with having missed something. So I hope that can help calm nerves to some extent. We're going to make sure that once things are decided, we are communicating everything we can with you to make sure that you have all your questions answered and are ready to start and set you up for success. So having anxiety about all of this is completely normal, even without a global pandemic happening. So I just wanted to name that because I know that it's a little frustrating. Okay, next question, Natalie.
Hello. Okay, so I wasn't able to make the first summer transition series video, and I was just wondering, like, where could I watch the recorded version?
Yeah, it's on, I believe it's posted on the Facebook page, and if that's a lie, it's on YouTube. If you go to the Duke New Student Programs channel, there's like a playlist with summer transition series videos. And if it's not posted on the Facebook, you can tell me if it's not, and I will post it after we get off the call. Yeah. So it should either Facebook or YouTube. Those are the two places to check.
I'm going to post it right now on Facebook too.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, we have a question from Satya.
Hi, I was just wondering if, because I mean, I know things are going to be different this year, but like, what does the typical process for choosing classes look like? Like, what are the steps that are usually involved in that?
Good question.
I guess I should take that since I'm a peer advisor. Frankly, it's always difficult, especially because of the Duke Hub system, which Trey can tell you all about. Okay. So basically, if we're operating under old Duke Hub, right, Trey? Okay.
So I think to interject in, so kind of context for this, Duke Hub is being revamped right now as a software, which is what all of you have access to, which you use to select your classes. I think at this point, we're not exactly sure. Students, like the class of 2024, was supposed to use the old Duke Hub to book bag and register, but then you're going to be transitioned this August. That may get flipped because everything is changing this fall. So more information on that soon. That will be communicated to you from our SIS office. So sorry.
Okay, so back to it. Let's just assume old Duke Hub, but it's really quite the same process. So you just log into Duke Hub and you open your book bag, and your book bag is the place where you kind of drop in classes that you're interested in taking. You can see the different components to it, like areas of knowledge or modes of inquiry. Modes of inquiry are specific tags that are graduation requirements. And so are areas of knowledge like the natural sciences, quantitative sciences, social sciences, ALPs, arts, literature, and performances. So there's looking into the matrix of what you need to do before you graduate. Those are kind of the criterion boxes that you have to check off. But in order to navigate that, there are two options. You can go to advanced search in Duke Hub or just regular class search. And from there you can file through and see based off of discipline, like history, poli-sci, whatever. You can click on the classes and then add those to your book bag. And then in terms of enrollment, after you go to your book bag, you select the classes and figure out listen, I hated this because I would have to like get a piece of paper out and kind of sketch out what my schedules were gonna be like. It was not fun. But then you just kind of like piece it together, like what time overlaps exist, or like make sure that you don't have two classes that are 5 minutes apart, because that's gonna be difficult. And then you enroll after that. So it's a lot of just like getting your hands in Duke Hub and kind of like figuring that system out. But mostly where you're going to find your classes is just putting them into the book bag, and just making sure that you're being cognizant of the different tags on each class, like the areas of knowledge, modes of inquiry, and what other graduation requirements you need for your specific track.
I'm going to hop in here and just give a little thing too. As like first years coming in, like while what Catherine said, like, yes, that's pretty much what you need to do to like graduate eventually, your responsibility as a first year student is more towards like yourself, to be honest. Like click through the different subjects, see what looks interesting, click like a cool class. Everything we were talking about the areas of knowledge and modes of inquiry, you have 4 years to figure them out. Most of them will like naturally fall into place as long as you're taking diverse enough classes. So honestly, you just like take some fun classes. If you're like pre-med, pre-law, maybe take a class related to that. There's really like no pressure to take like any certain class besides, you know, your first year seminar if you're in Trinity and your first year writing 101 for everyone.
Great, thank you. We have another question from Kushagra.
This is similar to some of the other questions asked, but do you guys have any idea about when Trinity Advising and registration, those webinars or those sessions will start? And also, I got an email a couple of days ago about meeting with advisors. So can you just explain like how that process works and how we can meet with advisors?
So as far as the webinars, until we haven't decided like when we're postponing them. If the decision goes out tomorrow about advising and registration dates, then there's not a need to postpone it. So that's kind of TBD right now. But as soon as a decision is made and announced, then we'll be posting on the Facebook page about if the webinars are changing. But as of right now, they're scheduled for, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I want to say the 16th, 17th, and 18th of June, all starting at 4 o'clock. Nicole or Jordan or any of the students, do you want to talk about the advising structure for first year students? Because I think that was the second half of your question. Yeah. Yeah, the advising structure.
Yeah, so you mentioned Trinity Advisors. So before you declare your major, you have your college advisor. So that's like Trinity or Pratt. And so these are like, mine was a grad student. So they would just sort of like guide us through what to expect with classes. The main thing is that they meet you before you enroll. So like between the time that you book bag and between the time that you actually like hit enroll for your classes. And they sort of just like walk you through what your plans are for the coming semester and for the past semester if you're like later for sophomore year and things like that. And they just like validate you to enroll. There's also like a ton of other advisors like peer advisors, as we have one here. We have pre-health advisors that are assigned to you by your dorm. Major advisors as you declare your major later on. Your GEOs or DAEs, all of those. There's a ton of advisors out there. But I would definitely say that like your FACs, your peer advisors, your pre-professional advisors, those were the ones that were most important to me.
And just to expand, so GEO is Global Education Office, so your study abroad, study away advisors. And DAE is Directors of Undergraduate Engagement that focus on kind of different content areas around like the humanities or social sciences or natural sciences. And others, and they really help you explore opportunities that connect to your curricular interests, but that go beyond that, and might be internships or different experiences that you could pursue outside of the traditional classroom environment. I don't know if anyone here has spoken with a DAE at some point in their career and could give a little, firsthand info, perhaps, or GEO officer, advisor.
I'm happy to talk about the DAE. So I've spoken with Dr. Heather Settle, who is the DAE for the social sciences. She's absolutely amazing. All the DAEs are a part of the Academic Advising Center, which, as someone mentioned earlier, is right behind East Campus Marketplace, which is your dining hall. So very conveniently located, especially for our first years over on East Campus. My personal experience with Dr. Settle has been great. The best part about DAEs is that it's their job to know not only what goes on inside of the classroom, but what's happening outside of the classroom. So Duke funded research, Duke programs, different extracurricular organizations, et cetera. And so the best part about meeting with a DAE is that not only can they walk you through sort of an academic plan and what your trajectory is going to look like over your 4 years at Duke and help you clarify that, but most importantly, they can also put you in touch with the different faculty on campus and connect you to research opportunities. Or if you're a public policy major like I was, she walked me through the American Grant Strategy Program and POLIS and different initiatives like that, which are also run by Duke, as well as, of course, the classic kind of student organizations. So a DAE is really there as a holistic advisor within academics to show you not only is what's available like within the classroom and how that looks over your 4 years here, but also what can you do outside of the classroom which supplements your learning to kind of go into that broader Duke living learning experience, which we talk about all the time.
Thank you for that. All right, I'm cognizant of the fact that we have 6 minutes left. We have two questions, and I want to make sure we have time for both of them because I don't want anyone to leave with any unanswered questions. So first off, we have Rhea.
Hi again. I had a question about program 2. So how do you like end up picking program 2 and how many people do it? Could you just explain more about it?
Does anyone have personal experience with program 2 at all?
So I've thought at several occasions that I was going to do one, Basically, it's where your academic interests do not fit in the typical college curriculum. And that means that either you're answering a specific question that is at the heart of the intersection of a lot of different disciplines, or you even beyond an interdepartmental major, which is another option for combining and fusing two areas of study. It's where you cannot have that, you cannot have a collection of certification in different areas like major, minor, and certificate that would be able to replace the experience that you could get with self-directing your own degree program, which is basically what Program 2 is. It's a program that is self-directed, planned out by yourself. You choose the classes based off of the bulletin, which has thousands and thousands of classes in it. And you just basically pair experiential learning or a project at the end of it with that course content that you pick out yourself. And this requires selecting a Program 2 advisor who will help you curate and cull through all those classes. And you do have to go through a process of approval with a panel that will approve your Program 2. So there are a handful of Program 2 people. I have several friends actually who are in the process right now of declaring that. And it's not for everyone, but if it is for you, then you should be able to do it.
And I'll just quickly hop in here. Catherine, I think, gave like a good and in-depth explanation, but it's definitely easy for people to explore, as Catherine mentioned. So I think I'd recommend two quick things. First is just go to program2.duke.edu. Been on the website multiple times. They have a lot of great information. And also Rachel Murphy-Brown is one of the academic deans here at Duke. She is absolutely fantastic, very approachable, and loves talking to students, even just those who are looking at doing a Program 2 and not committed. So Rachel's first name is Rachel. Just search up Rachel Murphy-Brown, Duke on Google, and you can go and book a quick slot with her over Zoom this summer. I would encourage you, if you're looking into a Program 2, it's a unique part about Duke. It highlights how interdisciplinary that Duke is. And Rachel is the fantastic person to kind of guide you through that process. So definitely just search up Rachel's name and go chat with her or take a look at the Program 2 website. And both of those are a perfect gateway to like get you involved.
Great. All right, we have time for one last question. So James, you are going to round us out today. Oh, we had one last question come up. Oh gosh, we'll fit both of them in. James, James, you're first.
Hi, I was just wondering, I guess, like, in terms of like choosing to do like accept a focus placement versus like taking a first year seminar on maybe like a semi-related or like similar topic, I guess, like, what are like the pros and cons and like merits of first year seminar independently versus focus?
I can take that one.
Oh, Eduardo, go ahead.
So I'm a rising senior now, and honestly, my focus experience was probably one of the best experiences I had at Duke. I was part of KISS, which is Knowledge in the Service of Society, and it's an awesome program. And I think the main difference really is that not only are you taking two awesome seminars like surrounding a topic that you're interested in, but you also get the extra things that focus brings. So that's the community that you build within your focus community that extends to your dorm and to all aspects of Duke life. So 3 or 4 of the people I was in a class for focus with are still some of my best friends at Duke. So I think that's a great way to not only take great classes with great professors and get really close with them, but also a great way to, just meet new people and create a solid group of friends that will keep going with you throughout your Duke career. And honestly, that's kind of a very effortless way to meet new people and just be able to enhance your Duke experience. So I would definitely recommend, accepting a focus placement instead of the normal freshman seminar, but that's ultimately a decision that you have to make.
Yeah, just to like add in quickly, so focus is like 2.5 credits because you have your 2 seminars and then you have your half credit weekly dinner with like your faculty and your peers. So that is like the conditional if you want to devote like 2.5 whole credits, which I personally love because it is such an in-depth, like a holistic experience. But if you would rather just have like the seminar, like to each their own, like I would definitely recommend it because like I really love the weekly dinners. Plus it's like a day away from like eating marketplace food all the time, but yeah.
Thank you for that. And let's have Sai.
Hi everyone. I just had like a quick question. So I was wondering when transcripts were due, and also how does course registration work? Because AP exam scores are coming after course registration.
So we actually have someone here. I think she's still in the webinar. Yes, I see her. Susan, I'm looking at you with those blue squares behind you. Susan, could you field that question on transcripts and such?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Waters from the admissions office. Welcome. Transcripts, we normally say they should just start coming in the end of June because that's technically when your classes and everything. And ideally, they're going to be sent in electronically or a scanned version of somehow from your school because right now we're not getting paper copies of mail. So just have your school will know and they'll send that along. We absolutely understand the AP score and testing challenges that you've all had the last couple weeks. Know that some of you are retesting. So I think just you're going to go ahead and register for your classes. And then once you get to campus or you're meeting with your advisor, if any adjustments need to be made, that will happen. It also sometimes will depend on what kind of your majors which direction you're headed as to how some of those AP courses will come into play. And I'm certainly, probably some of the peer advisors may have a more direct comment as well, since you guys have just done that.
I know that the Academic Advising Center is, well aware of the challenge right now that Susan referenced with AP scores, and they, in the email that was sent out, I believe, late last week, they're determining how to handle that. But AP courses are typically used more for placement, and so and in many cases students use their kind of best judgment to first register, and then like Susan said, they make adjustments during the drop add period, which is a period before or during the semester once classes have started, when you can still drop classes and still add. So you have some flexibility to move things around and work with professors, work with the directors of undergraduate studies, which are the essentially heads of each department, to determine what's the best fit for you. So, yeah.
I do want to acknowledge that we're at time, but we have 3 questions and your questions are really important to us. So we're going to stay and make sure that we can get those answered. But if you have to leave, we totally understand. But our next question is from Swetha? Apologies if I mispronounced that.
It's pronounced Shweta.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify. If you're in a focus seminar, then you do not have to take Writing 101?
You actually have to do both if you're in Trinity. So you have to take a first year seminar, which the focus will count for. And then all students do take a first year Writing 101. It's called like Writing 101, and each one of them has different concentration in them. I don't think there's any way to get out of Writing 101 as far as I know. So they're very—
What if you're in Pratt?
Yeah, even if you're in Pratt, Writing 101 is a class that it's the one class that every Duke student takes.
Okay, I thought I saw something where where there was like an option to do a seminar class instead. So I got a little confused, I guess.
So what it is if you're within the focus program, then your first year seminar requirement is taken care of. So normally all students have to do like a first year seminar, which is like 18-person or smaller class. However, if you are in the focus program, then that requirement is waived because focus satisfies that. But everyone has to do Writing 101 no matter what. Does that make more sense? Like that's where the seminar thing comes in.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. Thank you.
Of course.
Awesome. Next, we have a question from Jamail.
It's Jamel.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I have a question about the focus program. Do they like generally get in the way of filling the requirements for Trinity?
I can kind of answer that a little bit. Um, I don't think so. And as somebody mentioned earlier, really, a lot of the requirements will kind of be filled in for you as you go on and take your classes. You know, as long as you take a wide range of classes, you'll be totally fine with your requirements. For me, I'm pretty sure that my social science requirements were all taken care of through my 2 focus classes. So really, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just focus more on taking the classes that actually interest you. And, you know, down the road, when you're a junior, you can start worrying a lot more about that. But I would say no.
Thank you.
And next up we have Grace.
Okay, I think it said this in the email, but is everybody going to be tested before classes start? And then if, like, I think it said that, so if everyone's tested, I feel like you wouldn't know the answer to this, but like what happens if someone tests positive after traveling and stuff?
Yeah. Jordan might know better than I do. Or actually, Jordan, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump on. And actually, some of the students might know better because, you know, we're getting kind of emails as they are. But I think you're right, Grace. The hope is that there is going to be some sort of testing and monitoring of symptoms before the semester begins. I know that the university is looking at bringing students in terms of move-in. The hope is that move-in will happen kind of in waves to kind of assist with that for first-year students and for upper-class students. But all that is still to be determined. If somebody does test positive, that is, I think, the million-dollar question. I mean, we're blessed, honestly, to be around one of the world's best hospitals and have some of the best resources and doctors and not just Duke Hospital. Don't quote me on this, but I mean, UNC also has a great hospital too. And the Rex Hospital system here in North Carolina is also amazing. Like, we got 3 of the world's best hospitals within a 20-minute drive of each other. So we are well positioned, a lot better than a lot of other places really across the world to respond to anything that comes up for students, you know, staff, you know, faculty, kind of however it comes up. So to answer your question, I know we're thinking about how that's going to happen, and then we'll be able to respond appropriately if students do test positive or anybody tests positive. And I think that's why it's taken a while to release information, is because we got to make sure we have a plan in place, like Casey described earlier, so that if it does happen and potentially when it does happen, we're ready to respond appropriately with all the mechanisms that have to be then kicked in terms of cleaning, monitoring, contact tracing, like all those different things. So, and before because we got one more hand. Well, let's get the next one, because I want to give a shout out to the student leaders who are on here, and they did a really good job of not pubbing their programs too hard. But the FACT program is amazing. Blue Devil Buddies is a new initiative that's going to be amazing. The peer advisors are unbelievable. The E-team is tremendous. Like, you are really well supported as incoming students with the current students who are on here. So take advantage of Blue Devil Buddies. When your FAC reaches out, reply. When you come and have questions, like, reach out to your peer advisor, reach out to the E-team. Like, they're really smart, and they're much smarter than us old people on here. They know exactly what they're doing. So reach out to them because they're tremendous.
Yeah. And a lot of them are on the Facebook page as well. There are a lot of current students on the Facebook page. So I know that has been a space where people are like introducing themselves and getting to know their peers, but know that it's also a space if you want to ask questions and continue this conversation. You can post it on the Facebook page and use it for that. And we have current students there ready to answer and help you. And I know I've said this like 3 other times, but this might be our last question. But Amia?
Yeah, so it's a follow-up to Grace's question, but I know that fall break, for example, is canceled, but if we have an event like at home and we need to leave the Durham area, would that be problematic for needing to return? Because, for example, I'm from New York, so I know that the situation here is very different than the one in North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think it's something that we're trying to think through as a university. I mean, it's, um, man, how do I say? I think, people have rights, and like, so we're not going to be able to like take your car keys and like not allow you to buy plane tickets. Like, I don't see those things happening. I think we're just going to ask students, the message came out from the president about kind of this Duke compact, this new idea of like, how do we collectively take care of each other? So, this is going to require us to have empathy for our peers who have, conditions that may be compromising, for the staff and faculty who are a little bit older and are still going to be interacting and doing everything they can to engage with us. So, we're not going to put everybody in a bubble and force everybody to stay in Durham, but the hope is that because we are an amazing community and care about each other, we'll do what we can to try to limit that risk. And so that would be my response to that.
Yeah, I think Jordan hit the nail on the head. Like, I don't know if there are I don't think there's anything that we can really do to completely regulate it, even if there was a decision that was made that said, don't travel anywhere. But like he said, we're really taking on a community approach of we're all in this together. We all are needing to stay well and be well. And so kind of taking personal responsibility for the community through your actions, whether that's like wearing a mask around campus, or if you know that you've traveled, or if you know that you're maybe not feeling well and you don't know what it is, but it might just be a little cold, limiting interaction with other people, and utilizing resources, or like asynchronous lectures, whatever that might look like. But you're your own best advocate, and so we're kind of asking for that energy to go forward for like the housekeepers and facilities people that are in your spaces, and the staff and faculty. So yeah, but I think that is truly all of the questions. If you think of anything else, feel free to post it on the Facebook page. Feel free to email us, the Office of New Student Programs, directly. Our email is studentorientation@duke.edu. If you have questions and don't know where to start, we're a great landing page. Shoot us your email. We're happy to connect you in whatever ways we can with the proper offices or specific people. So really, we want to help you as much as possible. Kind of like I said before, know that the transition into college, it's completely normal to feel overwhelmed, and it is completely normal to feel anxious and unsure and questioning yourself and like not knowing what's going on. That's completely normal. It is okay. You will be fine. I promise you'll be fine. So don't let the anxiety of not knowing deadlines or feeling like you're missing something, make you question yourself and your decision. Like, there are so many people at the institution who are here and excited and ready to welcome you, and are eager to help you in any way possible. So all you have to do is ask. So I will say that. Is there anything else that anyone wants to add? Kudos to our student leaders. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you so much. Jordan, Nicole.
Well, thank you all so much. Yeah, please, like Casey said, don't hesitate to reach out. We're also happy to Zoom if a personal like chat would be more helpful. Just know like you have actual real humans here at Duke that care and want to help you navigate this situation and get you ready to start here. And just get to know you too. So please don't hesitate. And thank you to all our awesome panelists. Sign up for Blue Devil Buddies. The links went out, yes. And more info to come on other opportunities throughout the summer. Thank you.
Stay well.
Thanks,
Stay
Casey.
safe. Thanks for joining us.